Shortly before his death, Mr. Thomas stated to a witness that he wished for his wife, Mrs. Eleanor Thomas, to have their house for the rest of her life while she remained his widow, or £100 instead. Alas, there was no provision to this effect in his will. However, the executors of the will wishes to comply with the testator's intentions and thus made an agreement with Mrs. Thomas in consideration of such desire to convey the house to her for her life, provided nevertheless, and it is further agreed that during that time, the plaintiff would pay £1 yearly towards the ground rent for the property and keep the house in a good and tenantable repair. The plaintiff obtained possession, but the defendant executors refused to convey the house and ejected her.
I wish for my wife to get a house that I die for the rest of my life. At least to get something valuable. £100 will do.
Oh my God! Wow!
End of flashback.
I will let you stay at the house only if you pay £1 yearly and make sure the house is in a good and tenantable repair. Alright, I promise.
Mrs. Thomas is the widow of Mr. Thomas. Before his death, Mr. Thomas expressed his wish that his wife should live in the house for the rest of her life. After his death, the executors attempted to remove her from the house. This case, Thomas vs. Thomas, 1842, concerns a dispute between a widow and the executors of her late husband's estate. The issue was whether any consideration had been provided for the executor's promise. This case focused on the concept of consideration in contract law.
The Supreme Court is now in session. The Honorable Justice Peterson presiding.
Please be seated. Court clerk, please call the case.
Case number 1842, Mrs. Thomas versus the executor of the late Mr. Thomas.
My lord, we submit the agreement between the executors and Mrs. Thomas were contractual nature. We call Mrs. Thomas as our witness.
Mrs. Thomas, please take the stand. Do you swear to tell the truth?
I do, my lord.
Mrs. Thomas, can you tell the court what happened after your husband passed away?
After my husband died, the executor told me that I could continue living in the house if I pay £1 every year and keep the house in a good repair.
Did you agree to those terms?
Yes, I paid the rent and maintained the property as required.
Did you believe this was merely a gift?
No, I understood it to be an agreement with obligations on my part.
Thank you, plaintiff. Defendant, you may cross-examine.
Mrs. Thomas, would you agree that £1 per year is a very small sum?
Yes, but it was still rent that I required to pay.
Was this arrangement not motivated by your husband's affection?
Objection, my lord. Relevant.
Overruled. Witness may answer.
It might have been compassionate, but I still had duties to perform.
Thank you, Mrs. Thomas. You may step down.
My lord, the evidence clearly shows that the agreement imposed obligation on Mrs. Thomas. The payment of rent and maintenance constitutes sufficient consideration.
My lord, you submit that arrangement was motivated by affection and lacked genuine contractual intent.
I have heard both submission. The evidence is now closed. Although the testator's desire was only the motive for the agreement and a motive could not be considered, the widow's promise to pay £1 towards the ground rent and to keep the house in repair was a good consideration to support the promise to convey the house to her. The promise was to perform this act had some value in the eyes of the law, and the court did not have to inquire as to the adequacy of the widow's promise. The law does not concern itself with the adequacy of consideration. It is enough that consideration exists. The payment of rent and the obligations to maintain the house constitute sufficient consideration. The agreement is not a mere moral promise. It is legally binding. Judgment is given in favor of Mrs. Thomas.
Court is now adjourned.
Hello, Mrs. Thomas. Mr. Aku rasa mic tu dah payah kot. Kejap. Habis bergaduh, terus buat JJ ya.